Phoenix is becoming a renter's market. So what does this mean if you're a landlord or a renter? Well, landlords, you might have to get a little bit more competitive with your price. We're going to look at the state of the rental market and the median lease prices for the various cities. So let's get into it. Okay, according to this article from the Phoenix Business Journal, data shows more than 3,300 new Valley apartment units came online in Q3. Phoenix rents have declined by 4.7% year over year. This is according to Apartment List. Rent prices dropped 1% in October, which is more than the national average of 0.7%, but it brought the Valley's median rent down to $1,422, which is roughly 5.1% higher than the national average. So we're still higher than the national average here in Phoenix, but we have seen some declines in the amount of the median rental rate. What's crazy is that since 2020, when the pandemic started, we've seen an increase in rental rates of 25.6%. So although we're starting to see a softening of the rental market, we're kind of just giving back some of the gains that we saw over the last 3 years. Now, this article also talks about two main zip codes where we've seen the largest growth in rental supply over the last 5 years. So from 2018 to 2022, these two zip codes, one in Tempe, 85281, and one in Phoenix, 85004, both ranked in the top 50 for apartment construction. There's been an increase of 5,667 new apartments over the last 5 years in that Tempe zip code. And for Phoenix, there's been an increase of 3,587. So as a landlord, just know if you're buying in these zip codes, you might have good opportunity of renters there because they're obviously popular for rentals, but you have a lot more competition. And for renters, those may be two zip codes that you want to target because you may be able to find more options and possibly some lower prices if landlords are facing competition. They say overall, this is a 145% increase in supply over that 5-year span. Now, in the beginning, I mentioned that we saw an increase of about 3,300 new units come online in Q3. This is saying that the Valley's year-to-date tally is 10,500 new rental units, which is up 8% year-to-date compared to 2022. So overall, we are definitely adding more rental units to the Valley, which is creating more competition among landlords and effectively bringing rental rates down. What we're also seeing is an increase in the vacancy rate of rentals. Now, this article goes on to talk about how we've seen an increase in our vacancy rates, but it's not something to be alarmed of because around 7% is what we've historically averaged, and we've just finally gotten back to that 7% vacancy rate. Over the last few years after the pandemic, we had very, very low vacancy rates, and so now we're coming back to that 7%. Although that's a historical average for us, it's just showing that there is some softening in the rental market. So what is the median rental rate throughout the Phoenix area for different types of homes? Let's take a look at that. And before I get there, if this is valuable to you, hit that like button and consider subscribing. I'd love for you to be part of our community moving forward. So Phoenix is the 52 most expensive large city in the US with a median rent of $1,422. Now, in this article, they are talking about Phoenix proper, not the Phoenix metro area. We'll get to Phoenix metro in a second, but they're saying that $1,155 is the median rent for a one-bedroom apartment and $1,397 for a two-bedroom. Across the entire market, it's $1,422. If you compare that to the US as a whole, you can get a one-bedroom apartment. Median is $1,161 a month, and two-bedroom $1,331 a month. Overall, $1,354 being the median in the US. Now, if we're looking at the Phoenix metro area, that median rent stands at $1,547. So the median rent of Phoenix City proper is about 8% lower than the Phoenix metro area. Now, looking at some of these major cities throughout the Phoenix area, you'll see the differences. For a one-bedroom apartment on the low end, you're looking in Glendale at $1,152. And on the high end, of course, Scottsdale is topping the list there at $1,495. That's for a one-bedroom apartment. The median for a two-bedroom apartment on the low end is Phoenix at $1,397. And then we have Scottsdale again on the high end at $1,784. It's interesting to see the month-over-month rent growth and year-over-year rent growth almost all being negative. As I said, we're starting to see better rent prices if you're a renter, and if you're a landlord, you might need to get a little bit more competitive on the rental rates you're asking for. So this is just looking at the median rental rates for apartment style homes, but if you're looking for the median for single family homes on a quarterly basis, check the description below. I have a link where you can request that information. The rental market is definitely softening, as we're seeing in the housing market as a whole. It's becoming a bit more of a buyer's market. So if you want to learn more about that, check out this video right here, and I'll be back next week with another market update.